Hi all, welcome to this screencast on some contemporary issues. What we're focusing on today is modern technology in sport, specifically focusing on the elite performance and general participation. Okay, so we need to be looking at the extent to which modern technology has affected elite level sport, as well as how modern technology has affected general participation. Once we've looked at these and how they've increased or improved elite performance and general participation, we need to look at the extent to which modern technology has potentially limited participation or reduced it. Okay, so type of question you might be given in an exam. Here's a 4 marker. Using examples, explain how modern technology can aid elite performance in sport. So our first thing we're going to be focusing on is elite performance in sport, or modern technology in elite level sport, and how it has potentially increased participation or impacted on elite sport. So first of all, we have assessment of potential available now with modern technology. For example, we can test rowers for physiological makeup such as bone density and body fat percentage. Not just rowers, this is an example I've given. You can test all sorts of athletes now with regards to their physiological makeup to see whether or not they have the potential of becoming someone who could be an elite performer in that chosen activity level. For example, now what rowing does is it can at the elite level actually assess an individual's potential to see if they have the right levels of bone density and body fat percentage, internal body fat percentage this is. And if they have too high a level of this, then the potential is reduced, so they may not actually decide to invest money into them. Sports science support. So I'll try and link these in. So this is obviously assessment for potential, obviously with sports science. So now we actually have sports science support. So we have physiological testing available now. For example, we can test an individual's VO2 max. We can actually test for someone's bone density and body fat percentage as well. So these two link in quite nicely together. And these are separate marks you could get in an exam question. So I am trying to link these benefits together. Not only can we do these for individual athletes, such as physiological testing, such as VO2 max tests, we can actually monitor players now with GPS tracking. So GPS trackers in rugby, for example. So now for the individual, all of these here are literally advantages for the individual. We can test the individual's physiological makeup. Once we've done that, we can test the individual's physiological capabilities, their aerobic capacity, their muscular strength. Finally, we can also test individuals, or actually just monitor individuals' progress during a game or during training, for example, using GPS trackers in rugby, GPS computers in cycling. We can give the individual athlete injury diagnosis, or we can actually improve rehabilitation. I think I'm going to focus on this improved rehabilitation really. So improved training aids for rehabilitation. For example, we now have hydrotherapy that's really effective, and static bikes within rehabilitation centres. We have huge rehabilitation centres designed now for sport, worth over £2 million in the built, for example, at Bisham Abbey, which is where England hockey are at. So now we have this increase in rehabilitation. With that, we've got enhanced training. So, for example, we have improved training aids such as hypoxic chambers, such as static bikes, such as rowers, such as treadmills. So again, these two are kind of linking together with regards to, well, for rehabilitation, we have like hydrotherapy centres and static bikes available now. Well, we also have these improved training aids such as static bikes, and actually hypoxic chambers are now available. As well as this, we have simulated competition environments. This is a simulated environment, hypoxic chambers. So we can remember enhanced training such as hypoxic chambers. Hopefully we can also remember, well, we have simulated competitive environments. For example, surf simulators are now available. So those two link quite nicely together. Improved equipment. These are obviously examples of improved kind of technologies, kind of equipment. So we can move on to this and go, well, now we actually have high-tech, lighter, more efficient equipment and clothing, such as bikes are more efficient now. Prosthetics for disabled athletes are much better now with regards to what the capabilities of wheelchairs are now, where wheelchairs are much lighter and more efficient now for disabled sports. Okay, so now looking at modern technology for general participation, we need to think of how modern technology has improved or increased general participation. First of all, access. Okay, so buildings can be modified to make them wheelchair accessible to improve provision for the general participation. Facilities. Okay, so think about technology and how facilities now improved. So we have improved sports surfaces and artificial lighting. The artificial lighting and surfaces offers greater opportunity to play all year round. For example, with regards to artificial surfaces now, they're much more adept at a change in temperature. And also with the artificial lighting, it means we can play in the winter, in the evenings, and so forth. Motivation. So we have smartphones and smartwatches that can track our fitness levels, and they also have fitness apps on. So these can actually increase your motivation. You might not have reached your 10,000 steps for the day. You might be on 9,000 when you get home, and well, just before you're going to go into bed. And actually, you know what? I'm going to get up and go for a walk or a run to get my steps in. Improved safety of equipment absolutely increases general participation. People do not want to feel unsafe playing sport. The safer you feel playing sport, the more you're going to participate. And this happened following the death of Phil Hughes. Improvements were made in safety standards of cricketers' helmets. Phil Hughes was an Australian cricketer who was batting, and a cricketer bowled the ball at him and hit him just on the back of his kind of lower part of his head, slash like the top of his neck. And unfortunately he died from that. So then all of a sudden, cricket made improvements for safety standards of the helmets, which now have that area of the head protected. Improved equipment is going on like improved safety. We also have improved equipment, which basically increases our inclusion. You can either have one of these, but basically technology allows disabled people to participate more easily, such as prosthetics. Such as running blades, for example, is an example of a prosthetic that you may have seen in the Paralympics or being used in the Paralympics. Finally, modern technologies allow for mass production. Mass production means that this equipment is readily available for us, and because it's mass produced, it's much cheaper. So technology allows for mass production of sports equipment so that it's readily available and cheap. You can get much cheaper sports bikes now than you used to be able to because they're mass produced. So their advantages, or kind of the improvements that modern technology has had on elite sport and general participation. We also need to be aware of the limiting factors, or how modern technology has limited participation in sport. First of all, the stuff I've been talking about there, cost of equipment is still high, and it has created an inequality, a divide between both elite and recreational performers. So I use road bikes as an example there. If you want to be at that top level, road bikes are extremely expensive and people just can't afford it. Rowing is really expensive because of the equipment used in them. So cost of equipment does limit participation. I wanted to play ice hockey when I was younger, and it was too expensive. So therefore, I wasn't allowed to. Simple as that. Cost of facilities. So in developing countries, the cost of expensive facilities is actually prohibited, which is going to reduce participation, specifically in those countries. And finally, we have alternatives now, don't we? So we have mobile phones, we have tablets, and we have computers. These drastically affect participation within sport. So for example, reduces the time available for physical activity because people are on their mobile phones all the time, their tablets and computers. This comes in quite a lot actually. So it provides entertainment for us as well. So physical activity may not be needed. People participate in physical activity sometimes to be entertained, where actually mobile phones, tablets and computers now offer this entertainment for individuals. And then finally, devices may be used as a substitute for physical activity, i.e. you may prefer just playing a computer game. So therefore, you don't need to take part in physical activity because you're playing on your computer game. So that's it. You don't need to answer this question. This is something we're going to be looking at in lesson. Please make sure you have good corner notes on that, and I'll see you in class.